Crabs. Money.
20,000 zenny.
Hitboxes. Crabs.
No, that's gonna kill me.
Mashing.
What is that? What is that burst of energy he gets?
Burglary.
Back, you little. No.
Crabs.
Okay. No, that didn't. No, 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 not again, not again.
Frustration.
Stop, dude.
Bitterness.
And I'm stunned. Yep. Good game. Well made game. Fun game.
Crabs.
So, what do we do now? I don't know. I'll be honest, I really don't know.
The unholy matrimony of black-hearted wickedness and fishy hips, this kind, had the devastating consequence of conceiving this profane work of art, and I love it. Monster Hunter is a near and dear game series to me, so when I heard that Monster Hunter DOS is notoriously the hardest game in the entire series, I needed to play it. And what I got is exactly what I signed up for, with the addition of swaths of brilliant, unique, and great content that make it so incredibly fun. Content that they would take and spike directly into the garbage bin in the next entry, patching up the gaping hole with Tigrex. DOS places a huge emphasis on survival. If you want to eat something, go find it yourself. Need a nap? Fork over this month's rent. At the beginning of the game, the village of Jumbo is an undeveloped trash heap in dire need of a strapping elderly man to pluck out of retirement, outfit in the most prestigious apparel, and draft to raise a sword at an ancestral god spoken of only in children's nursery rhymes. Oldtimer here just escaped prison and was waiting out his wanted level on an Arby's rooftop when the Jumbo village chief came along. The chief, wanting to turn his garbage heap of a village into a bustling economic powerhouse, studies Oldtimer's form and realizes that he is just what the town needs. An obedient servant. Monster Hunter DOS is cool because your progression through unspeakable, deplorable challenges will reflect with the village around you growing. Every day you risk your neck in the field to find resources and hunt threats, and in return the village grows to include more villagers and shops. When you first arrive, both you and the village are nothing special at all. The village has the chief, forge granny, master shipwright, the combo master, the hunting instructor, and the market feline, as well as some other key features such as the cave and the river, which will become more relevant later. But for now, let's talk about the people that actually help you. The chief is always scampering around the village, making sure everything is okay, or collecting taxes or something like that. The hunting instructor does his best to make it so you're not bad at the video game, which is kind of redundant because I don't think anybody's good at this video game. Master Shipwright is a Jolly Roger that was once a hunter, before a fishy set of hips prematurely ended his career. Now he's a shipbuilder that will totally obliterate you in an arm wrestling minigame. Forge Granny arms you, Market Feline sells you stuff, and the Combo Master does the exact same thing. Boring, boo, got it. Now let's see some entrails. The game starts you out small with the only gathering quest in the game, going out into the jungle and picking mushrooms. This quest is designed, 1, to cold plunge their beloved fans into the unfeeling real world, and 2, to be returned to constantly, because without a farm, gathering in this game is an absolute necessity. DOS took a different approach to controls. Instead of doing the conventional look around with the right analog stick, they decided to have you attack with the right analog stick and move the camera with the D-pad, leaving these buttons without any purpose whatsoever. This quest is also our first peek into combat. God help anybody who decides to go to the beach first. The small monsters in DOS are pure evil, with their sole purpose being to make sure your life is filled with as much chaos and frustration as possible. Doing it not out of the notion of possible gain, but by their desire to see people suffer and fall. I have mentioned crabs multiple times before, and the reason why is because underneath the sands in this beach lie little hermitors, ready to ambush anyone that walks overhead. Bait them out, and you're still met with a monster that spins around your shields, swarms you, and will effortlessly move faster than your maximum run speed. Here's a video with a player getting dogged on by a single hermitor. Other monsters you might happen upon are the hell pigs that feast on tears, cats that will rob you and nuke whatever remains, bird wyverns that can be cleaved asunder and jump around way too much, and bugs that will happily paralyze you and sneak up to knock you out of your gathering animation. So this gathering quest then is incredibly easy and can be completed simply by hopping over and picking mushrooms right in front of everybody's favorite docile herbivores. The tale of Oldtimer begins not on the battlefield holding the head of a dragon, but crying underneath his bed, clutching mushrooms and pincer wounds. And don't worry, if the small monster lineup of the jungle seems too simple and easy to take care of so far, we haven't even encountered the worst of the little guys. Having returned alive, the chief rewards a job well done with more work, harder work. Now, you're tasked to go hunt large monsters. The monsters in question being a pig and Velociprey again. But this time it's different, I promise. This time his crest is red. Why does making a Velociprey 4% larger and painting his crest red warrant a 20-fold increase in health? I'm not really sure. But that doesn't change the fact that he flinches at literally anything. The objective of this fight isn't to teach you how to kill large monsters, but more so to show you how little fun you're supposed to have playing the video game at the hands of small monsters. With enough stab wounds, Velocidrome will go down, earning you $8 and a pat on the back. Money is a notably prominent issue in DOS. Weapon prices are incredibly expensive, as is rent. If you want to make money, you have to wait for the in-game monster stock market to go up. Then wait for the quest that has that monster and kill it. If you're early game though, and can only choose between an overgrown hell pig and a sleepy chicken, your only option remaining is to put down the bowgun and die poor. Speaking of hell pig, Bulldrome in this game is incredibly stupid because he just charges a lot. Unlike Velocidrome, his AI isn't just a flowchart and he will actually target you. Sometimes doing this one tantrum attack that hits all sides of him. Not that any of that matters because during the battle, Oldtimer's only issue was constantly being mugged. After successfully capturing the hog and putting his head on a stick, the village chief recognizes Oldtimer's potential as somewhat more useful than a worm on a string and gives him access to more quests. Surely the pink bird doesn't have anything funky in store for us. Yang Kut-Ku in this game is awesome because he's a bird, which lends him perfectly to camping you the fuck out and not interacting with you for 15 minutes at a time. This is the first proper hunting tutorial, requiring you to constantly track down the monster. Note that when I say track down the monster, what I really mean is to run around cluelessly until you happen to come across it. A process that has, at one point, taken me over half an hour before the game's 50-minute time limit kicked me out. In comparison to the prior monsters, Yang Kut-Ku has a much larger moveset, a faster enraged state, and can set you on fire. He can also ambush you out of absolutely fucking nowhere. That is, when he decides he wants to interact with you. Other times he's taking in the beautiful low poly sights of the jungle. Whatever the case, when the 1-star monster almost took me up to the time limit, I was moderately perturbed. Get ready to become intimately acquainted with that little clock because oh boy, will it become a consistent issue throughout this video.
I should not be feeling it this way for a 1-star quest.
After massacring more pigs and assimilating myself into their ranks, the Jumbo Village Chief congratulates us and provides us with a new hunting ground, the desert. A zone of sweltering heat by day, unbearable cold by night, and full of creatures ready to peel you open and feast on your insides. Look, a docile herbivore. The desert has a brand new lineup of small monsters, including Cephalos, Genprey, and Apsaros, each of which you will become intimately aware of. The desert takes 8 business days to cross and has this cool little underground area that floods in the night. As this is a new hunting ground, we now have a rotating selection of large monsters to hunt here, depending on the season. The simplest being the Gendrome. When I first went up against Gendrome, I noticed something that was kind of weird. Kind of strange. The music that played for the desert was different than what I remember. DOS's maps get reused quite often, like in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, Monster Hunter Generations, and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. The area themes for those games are always consistently the same, so why did they change it? Well, apparently, for some reason, they decided to replace all the music for every hunting grounds with their Monster Hunter Frontier counterparts. A massive shame, because DOS's hunting grounds themes are just better. I know music is subjective and all that, but like, listen to what they did to the snowy mountains. The Gendrome is the Velocidrome of Genprey. Does he do anything unique that Velocidrome can't replicate? Not really, but he does have that sick crest that puts old celery sticks like Oldtimer straight to bed. That or the paralysis-inducing venom administered through his disc track. This is a significantly harder fight than Velocidrome, simply because he doesn't flinch at absolutely everything. But all in all, he sucks and isn't very cool. The first real boss of the desert is the Cephadrome. No, I promise, this 3D model is not just an upscaled Cephalos with the brightness slider turned down. Cephadrome in this game is absolutely hysterical because he just refuses to interact with the player. You'll chase him in circles circles around the dunes for 5 minutes. He'll engage for maybe 15 seconds, and then he'll get bored and swim around for another 5 minutes. This monster is my first piece of evidence in the argument that DOS didn't have playtesters. During this fight in particular, I realized just how different the series used to be. In modern titles, preparation for a hunt is almost completely unnecessary. You could grind for resources to make sonic bombs, but what's the point if you're just going to kill Diablos anyways? Preparation was something required of you. Those sonic bombs here make a world of a difference. It's the difference between fighting and watching a fish cyclically camp you out. It does make sense though that when this fish does decide to fight you, it is trivially easy. Most of the time he's spitting sand, and if he's not, he's flailing around ludicrous hitboxes. Trust me, we will talk about those hips later. What really makes this fight difficult are the babies that are even more violent and evil, butting in when you don't want them to, and then immediately leaving to follow in their father's footsteps. Persevere the sandfish that are definitely not called Remobras, and you will be allowed to move on to the next monster. Daimyo Hermitor is a crab, and as is the case with all crabs, is a little bastard. Pictured is a Daimyo Hermitor camping me out in the zone transition of Desert Area 10. Daimyo Hermitor is an enormous hermit crab with an ancient Monoblos skull on his back. He attacks by mimicking Monoblos' signature upward thrust. The bellies of most creatures tend to be particularly weak after all. Other than that, he uses them big, meaty claws, jumps, has a bubble beam attack, and if you're truly lucky, he will do a leisurely backwards walk into you. A devastating attack that will send your hunter flying and delete 9/10 of any living being's health bar. The Daimyo being also one of few monsters in the series to Fortnite dance mid-battle. The red crab is interesting because sometimes he will simply decide to make his skin harder mid-combo. As a result, my weapon would bounce and I would be sad. This makes the classic hit him in the legs until he trips and then hit his head strat pointless because his head will have your weapon bounce. Sonic bombs are supplied for the quests, though unlike Cephadrome, this monster doesn't care about sound while it's underground. Instead, he cares when he's in shield crab mode. Speaking of shield crab, Lance in this game fucking bangs, but nothing hits the crab quite like a pig head on a stick. With this, you can harness your inner pig spirit, and with a blunt weapon, you're able to break Daimyo's skull shell. Hammer in this game, as well as every single Monster Hunter game ever really, is really good. Especially against crabs though. That overhead swing is immune to deflections, and that golf swing will rip him 11 new gaping stomas. When you see purple foam bubbling up in its mouth, it is time to golf swing once more and bid the crab farewell. And take that free and easy Monoblos horn because you were a good boy and brought a hammer. Bloons Tower Defense 8. Somehow they made the burping farting monkey the most fun fight so far, and by a good margin too. Congalala is extremely well telegraphed, has plenty of downtime in between attacks to go for weak spots, and you can break that stupid forehead spike that he used Pissed to comb into a point. A lot of monsters have clear tells to indicate how they're feeling. Yankutku, for example, pulls his ears back when he's tired. Daimyo Hermitor's mouth bubbles when he's angry. When angry, Congalala has one of the most pronounced visual changes in the entire roster, with his whole hippo face turning red. Very good way to signify his anger. I do wonder how necessary it was to make his ass cheeks do the same thing. Congalala is an incredibly intelligent and territorial monster. If a hunter gets to be too much, he will get creative, using a variety of different plants and mushrooms to eat and then burp out as gas. Gas that will affect the hunter differently depending on the ingested plant. Sometimes this incredibly vulgar monster will resort to farting or shitting on you, knowing full well that hunters won't want to eat anything if all they could smell is conga bowels. The resourcefulness doesn't end there. He's capable of producing a sound so loud that hunters have no choice but to stop and cover their ears. This sound not coming from his mouth, but from his... Yeah, this monster is gross. In Monster Hunter 4, they retconned this move to be more of a burp, but we all know the truth. The truth is, I'm Monkey. Wearing Conga's skin, you raise the only stat that matters, and with the added stink bonus, cats will no longer take your stuff. I really do feel like running around and being wild in this shit. After forcing the Osu player to shower and use deodorant, we travel towards the swamp, later to be retitled the Marshlands. The best thing you can do in the swamp is leave. The area is dark and cold. Thick fog permeates toxic pools, mountainous evergreens finish the set piece, and not a single fight that takes place here is even a little bit fun. Introducing Ayaprey. These ugly little frog skin raptors will poison you. It doesn't matter which direction they leave the ground in, because of their innate ability. As soon as their stupid froggy toes leave the ground, they'll instantly be influenced by the gravitational pull of the cringiest object in the universe, and in this case, that would be me. Ayaprey have a leader that is even uglier and even thinner than the other dromes, but still has at least 20 times more health than Velocidrome for some reason. Ayadrome's whole purpose in this video game is to be killed and turned into an anti-fish shotgun. He really is just kind of the same as the other raptor dromes, only he occasionally spits venom, an unsettling premonition of the coming venom monster. Gypceros is annoying and I hate him. Gypceros for now is the last of the 1-star monsters, one of the most intelligent monsters with tons of tricks up its rubbery sleeves. To start, its head has a crest that can generate an extremely bright light, instantly stunning any aggressors, putting hunters in prime position to get their Balenciaga stolen, unless you're wearing the monkey suit. He has an incredibly elastic tail, a toxin sac that lets him hurl venom, and the propensity to stampede around on a predetermined path, an attack that has never hit anyone in the history of anything ever. Their rubbery hide will turn away any electrical attack and render shock traps completely worthless. Let's not forget Gypceros' most famous move, playing dead. When a Gypceros nears the end of the line, he starts thinking in his little Gypceros brain,
okay, I am irrecoverably fucked and have no idea what I can do. Let's just pretend to be dead.
He will then lie in wait for any hunters that want to dip in for a carve, so that he can surprise them with a furious tantrum attack. This fake death claiming the lives of absolutely nobody. Unfortunately for Gypceros, every time a monster dies, there's a big cinematic scene of the monster dramatically letting go, as triumphant music swells in the background. When Gypceros plays dead, none of that happens. Anyone that gets hit by his wake-up is either asleep at the wheel or unaware of the fact that he does this, and forgot that music plays at a monster's demise. It would be cool if they played a fake quest clear tune, but man, programming is hard. I dropped out of college for a reason. My advice for Gypceros is this. Take your Bullfango head on a stick and do 2 golf swings to break his crest. He will be completely useless for the rest of the hunt. Not only will he be completely useless for the rest of the hunt without the ability to stun you, but he also will still do this long animation thinking that his head crest is still functional. Also, wear Congalala armor. The Phantom of Conga's stench will keep anything from getting snatched from you, and also for that rambunctious and freeing spirit. That was Gypceros. Everyone please raise a hand to your brow for all the Nerscylla working tirelessly to make the species go extinct. Due to old-timers' consistent successes in the field, the village has grown considerably in population, as more people have come to throw peanuts at the old geezer. He even found a love interest in this old Wyverian lady. Sometime soon, Oldtimer will finally find an answer to if Wyverians lay eggs or not. The slog of icky poo-poo no fun monsters continues with our first 3-star monster, Plesioth. My favorite part about this quest is the monsters they decided to include. Not only do we have the fish, with hitboxes so infamous the creators of themselves would acknowledge the meme in games, but because they decided to put a crab into the arena. Not just 1 crab, but they put 2 crabs in. And then, someone on the team thought, you know what? I didn't get the chance to kick a box of puppies into the ocean today. So they put a 3rd crab in. Upon seeing the 3rd crab, another team member remembered how he once tried to put ground asbestos into hospital baby formula, but was caught and told to go find a new hobby. So he worked hard at school, got a job at Capcom, and put a 4th fucking crab in this area. As a little souvenir, the finishing touch if you will, they added an infinitely respawning Vespoid to this area. As for Plesioth, the man of the hour, he does 2 things. Sit in the water and attack you from where you can't touch him, and wonder why the fuck he decided to get out of the water and jump back in. If he does decide to grace you with his presence on your home turf, he will either throw around enormous hitboxes that nearly OHKO'd at full health, or he's using this useless little water jet attack that makes him so vulnerable to counterattack that he's practically damaging himself by using it. Baiting out this attack and hitting his head is kinda the only way to win with a melee weapon. Your gaze might be drawn to that big, soft, fishy belly, but this thing is at least 5 feet and 13 inches off the ground, meaning your little manlet self has no chance of touching it. The brave soldiers going for the leg knockdown strat will be sad to know that when he does fall, he stays down for exactly 5 seconds and 27 milliseconds. Plus, it's not like you're going to be able to hit his belly through the fish flop anyways. Plesioth has the remarkable ability to turn his entire body, as well as the empty space around it, into an oppressing hitbox, making that strat completely useless anyways. Plesioth sucks. My solution? Grab a gun and laugh maniacally as you sit on the shore and shred him into tiny little pieces, all the while dodging some of the easiest attacks in the game. But wait until he jumps out onto the land. Then you can camp just out of the tail zone, equip pellet ammo, and win still. Yeah, remember when I said that Iodrome's only purpose was to one day become a shotgun? This is the anti-Plesioth weapon. Poison him, cripple him, or make him fall asleep and watch his completely unnecessary and awesome barrel roll. Now, to address the colossal green fish in the room. Yes, what you're looking at is a subspecies. Back in DOS days, subspecies were nothing more than the same guy, but that color, ooh. A few of the monsters that I've mentioned so far have low-rank subspecies, but are they worth mentioning? No. Aside from a couple cases where they actually do mix things up or just have a cool story behind them, I will from here on out be using the footage of these monsters interchangeably. You can kill Plesioth on land and in the water. Just be aware that if he dies in the H2O, you won't be able to carve up his bits. In summary, Plesioth is butt cancer with a side of frog. I love him so much, please bring him back. That night, after getting his head crushed by Fish Hip, Oldtimer thought a night of rest and recovery was in store for him, but unfortunately, Mother Nature had other ideas in mind. As the Lady Dragon says, it's eerily quiet tonight. Kushala Daora is nearby. She did say something else, but Oldtimer was busy wondering if Wyverians had weird dragon feet. It did not make him feel any better when he came face to face with the Dragon of Steel just 5 minutes later. But first, watch this ad. This video is sponsored by Raycon. Half a year ago, I got into the Yakuza series, and as every Yakuza knows, the soundtrack is kinda really good. Perfect music to work out to, and so quickly, my go-to earbuds for this became the Raycon Everyday Earbuds. I have a nasty little habit of forgetting to charge my things, but with Raycons, that doesn't really matter. With 32 hours of battery life, I literally have not had to charge them once ever since I got them. That combined with their sweat, rain, and water resistance, as well as their ability to connect 2 devices at once, I really don't have much of a reason to get any other earbuds. Brachydios approves.
Are you gonna eat that or can I have it?
Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/pakpak, spelled P-A-K-P-A-K, to get 20 to 40% off your Raycon purchase. You guys might notice the little cartoony animatic sections in this video, and that was basically made possible because of the sponsor. So if you like my content and you want to see more fun stuff like that, go check out Raycon. Anyways, back to me hating my life again. Geared with not but the slimmest, weakest monkey skin, Oldtimer seeks to take on a living natural disaster. The Kushala Daora, a monster whose presence always accompanied by a calamitous storm. His body a shell of pure steel. He is an engine through which the strongest winds flow, forcing all the smaller, weaker monsters to run for their lives. Except Vespoids, I guess. Vespoids don't care about the dragon winds or downpour. Their sole purpose in life is to make you hate your life, and nothing will stop them from achieving that goal. But besides Vespoids, small monsters don't appear during Elder Dragon quests. Whether that's because they were all slaughtered beforehand or if they're waiting out the dragon's stay. It means that you'll have a good, clean showdown with the beast, void of distractions, barring this guy. Kushala Daora has 2 phases, the first being the hit him in his stupid bronze nose phase, where you target his face in the hopes of concussing this beautiful animal to the point that it collapses, so you can concuss it even more. And the real-time cutscene phase, where you get pushed against an invisible wall by the swirling dragon wind, and hope that the Dragon of Steel has mercy on your worthless little soul. Using its network of pores and tunnels in his body, he passively churns out incredible winds that reflect bullets, turn away arrows, and knocks creatures to the floor to be picked off. This passive wind barrier acts as a shield, making Kushala a total bastard to hunt. But as the Jumbo Village chief said at the beginning, do it anyways. Kushala Daora may be a fantastical storm dragon, but still has a very much mortal body that can be worn down through gradual, consistent effort. His greatest power can be removed in 2 ways. The first being with poison. When poisoned, Kushala's windshield will disappear as the faculties within the dragon work to fight the poison, giving you a broad expanse of time to get those juicy headshots. But poison has its limits. It alone won't be able to permanently disable the wind. To completely dismantle Kushala defense, you must dismantle the dragon itself. Severing its tail or grievously wounding its head will do the trick. As far as I know, there's no concrete reason as to why cutting the tail or breaking the horns disables the dragon wind. If I had to guess, it would be because its body now has to rapidly knit and fight infection in the open wound and focus less on generating wind. To assist with your endeavor, the guild provides 5 poisoned throwing knives, some bombs that aren't usable in the rain, and against Kushala in the jungle it's always raining, and 3 flash bombs. The strategy is simple. Get those tasty headshots and cry when he jumps in the air, unless his dragon winds are down. If the dragon wind is down, simply equip Lance, poke him in his stinky dragon toes, then dodge left once and be completely immune to his entire kit. Look at me, haven't even touched his moves and I'm already bringing up weird cheese strats. Kushala has a kit of extremely mid moves, made dangerous by the help of wind physics. Whether that wind be attached to the move or the dragon itself, they both assist in Kushala's quest to simply be not very fun. He has a homing charge, multiple wind breath attacks, and a beam attack that's made awesome by the fact that he screams while doing the move. They brought this move back in 4, but removed the scream sound, which is an issue that I alone complain about because it's not really an issue. Elder Dragon quests are unique, because unlike normal quests, if you hurt the dragon and fail or repel it, they stay in that weakened state until your next run-in with them. Very cool feature to slowly phase out and eventually abandon completely.
He is so fast. He is heating up. He is warm. Bro is warm. Oh, temporal mantle.
Weathering the storm will have Kushala flee to the desert, leaving our pal Oldtimer to return home, triumphant over the Dragon of Steel, just to be packaged up and shipped back to the desert 8 minutes later. There's a lot of discussion around whether Kushala Daora summons storms or only follows them. His monstrously heavy steel body is perfectly adapted for flight through heavy rain and wind. So you'd think that then he'd have the ability to generate his own storms, right? Then why is the desert here perfectly clear? Maybe then he's not a creator of storms, but a follower. Why then is the jungle a non-stop oppressive downpour unlike any other in Kushala's presence though? The jungle does rain every single night otherwise, but when Kushala's about, it's substantially more severe. So here is he just choosing not to create a storm? Was he worn out too much from the previous run-in? Or did he just flee his storm because he knew this elderly abomination was hunting him down? Who's to say, really? By nature of his status as an elder, Kushala's power is a mysterious and unknowable, but he is by no means invincible. The second repulsion will scare Kushala all the way to a new hunting grounds, one that you must master before following him to the final showdown. Back at home, the Lady Dragon begins referring to herself as Big Sister and offers Oldtimer some meat. He scarfs it down in front of her, prompting her to become aroused. Something about the way his saggy neck flapped in the moonlight set off a spark within her delicate dragon parts, and she offered him an even tastier reward to be found in the snowy mountains. In no time, Oldtimer was scaling the mountains following a trail of rose petals. Something smelled fishy about the situation though, and to Oldtimer's dismay, that fishy smell wasn't emanating from unwashed Lady Draguchi, but rather by something long, white, and veiny. Something that was with him all along. So Kezu, dick and balls. While I personally don't have reservations with putting my stinking, sweating grippers inside him, Oldtimer does, which I'll respect. This may be the most single AIDS fight in the game. Kezu is like a flowchart. He creates an electric force field, he screams, and then he jumps right after his scream, so you literally can't do anything because you're still immobilized by covering your ears. Pretty funny if you ask me. What's even funnier is grabbing a ranged weapon, jumping on a ledge, and pressing down the right analog stick. I thought I had solved the game as Kezu seemingly couldn't reach me up there with anything, but then the 11th jump attack put him up there and I felt sad. Kezu is a tilting monster, especially when he roar stalls you at 5 minutes remaining, forcing you to sit there and watch the clock tick down. I personally don't like Kezu. He smells bad. Sometimes he's in the marsh, which gives him access to his full kit. Does that change anything at all when he's on the ceiling? No. He drools a little and relaxes while doing just another timeout stall strat. You know which creepy cave monster would never do such a thing? Gigginox. Apparently, this is a hot take because everyone, including the devs, are certified Kezurinos, but saying Kezu is better than the Chad Cave Leech is like saying elephants are bigger than Paramecium. Categorically untrue to a stupid degree. I would respect that sentiment if Giginox wasn't just all of Kezu's best attributes magnified by 8 trillion, but I did once fight 52 Giginoxes to farm for one 22% drop and still never ended up getting it, so I guess I just need to be better. Kezu, though, is the trailblazer for creepy cave monsters. He does everything right. There's creepy, there's cave, there's monster, there's that stupid infinitely respawning Vespoid that lives in this ledge because the devs won't let me cheese the game for some reason. Put the electric dick chick turducken into the refrigerator and pull out a Kezu, but red. Fun fact, red Kezu is actually a normal Kezu, but unlike the normal Kezu or average Monster Hunter fan, this one occasionally goes outside and lets the sun tan his skin. It was around this time in the script writing process that Pake felt something was off. Like something was missing. There is a monster in DOS that's been there for every single Monster Hunter game. But who? Which monster can be so simultaneously iconic and forgettable? The Raytheon fight is an anomaly because if you know how to fight her in one game, you know how to fight her in every single Monster Hunter game. For the most part, DOS Raytheon is the same, but this is still DOS and she will combo you to death so often. You only need to get knocked down once for that homing Raytheon charge to finish you. I know the backflip is Raytheon's most iconic move, you know, tail full of spines capable of administering a lethal dose of cringe juice straight to your lower intestine. But the Raytheon charge is what keeps me up at night. This thing does stupid damage, locks on, and is spammed to hell. I swear every time I'm grounded, her AI always resorts to this attack. So I'm always waking up to angry wyvern feet, and not the kind that I want to see. She's also one of the few desert flying wyverns, and while this luckily didn't happen to me on this playthrough, she will do a flying marathon around the whole desert, leaving you the second you make it into a zone. Her AI is prone to doing wacky things that are unrelated to camping you out, such as wall fireballs or going for a swim. Here's a little lesson. If you kill Raytheon, you can turn her into a bow. And by doing that, you make the game infinitely less cool. If a monster is ever laming you out or is just being a real nasty piece of work, grab a bow and win. Bow gameplay is glue-eating, dropped-on-head kind of stupid. And while this is still Monster Hunter DOS and monsters have ways to out-cheese the cheese, this weapon counters some of the most annoying monsters incredibly hard. Ask your local bowman what the biggest drawback to using this weapon is, and they'll tell you it's trying not to fall asleep mid-quest. Raytheon in DOS is the exact same as she always has been and always will be. The only difference in this game is the blanket of DOS jank. Also, her 3D model is unbearably ugly, and it makes a lot of sense that this is the monster that the devs saw and thought, you know what, we can do better. And made Rathalos. In order to truly master the snowy mountains, to prove oneself worthy of felling the Dragon of Steel, you must first slay the King of the Mountains, Blanganga. High on pure hatred and Blango apples, Blanganga is a tightly packed ball of explosive, fast twitch muscle, covered in billowy coats of thick white fur, strong enough to leap incredible distances, hurl huge chunks of ice into the air, and punch cannonball-sized holes into tiny hunters. The fur and insolent from the harsh snowy mountain weather, with incredible thermal properties and hard as chains. To put it bluntly, this monkey is perfectly evolved for survival in the mountains. This was Old-Timer's shot at the big leagues, his first apex predator. And boy, was the monkey not kind to him. This was the first wall that I encountered in this game, like wall. Blanganga is stupid fast, hits like a truck, calls for backup, runs constantly, and if he ever carts you, you have to sadly make the climb all the way back up the mountain again. And who could forget the Blanganga ultimate technique? Camping you the fuck out. Blanganga moves a lot. Not only does he switch zones, but he hops about to and fro, dancing around everything, leading me to the most tilting timeout of the whole playthrough. After getting hit with a forbidden tech, I was genuinely at a loss. This monster was beating me harder than I had ever been beaten, and if I ever got him to sleep, this is how dudes without pronouns in their bio sleep, he activates his true power. I remember being walled by Agnactor as a little kid, but I was just a stupid little baby then. Why am I, as an adult with thousands of hours of playtime in this godforsaken series, being taken apart so easily? Is it lack of firepower? That was my conclusion. So I began a multi-stream journey to try to scrounge together the money and resources to upgrade my hammer. But as it would turn out, the answer I had found in an entirely new weapon type. One that I hadn't even considered up until that point. The hunting horn. I was a little wary at first because this seems like an incredibly difficult weapon to get right, especially in these older games, but Dos hunting horn shreds. The strategy was simple. Make the Kazusi, play the speed increase song, and win. There has not been a weapon that has undergone more changes than the hunting horn, and the Dos iteration has to be the most convoluted out of them all. In order to play the performance-enhancing songs, you must first enter performance mode. From there, you sit in place and do various attacks that'll change the color of your notes. To find out which note sequences do what, you must first buy sheet music and go commit to memory the songs in your library. I will say, there's no buff that hits quite like the basic self-improvement song. Self-improvement makes you move super fast and roll super far, perfect for avoiding those huge Blango hitboxes. The Kazusi horn is particularly Blango-proofed because of its ability to make the cold obsolete. Run out of hot drinks? No problem. Simply play the endless stamina song. This all may sound like it will trivialize the ice monkey, but trust me, it doesn't, and it didn't. Yes, that clip was taken from a hunt where I wasted time jingling keys because Stream Chat didn't get their daily baby sensory videos, but Blanganga is still Blanganga, and you still have to try if you want to beat him. With the Kazusi in hand though, the battle no longer felt like a losing game. I was hurting him. I was making him angry. Now dodging attacks and playing celebratory songs on the world's largest sock puppet. Amidst the roars, the paintball smearing, and those meaty headshots, something occurred to me. Something that really shocked me. I was having fun. Something that old Monster Hunter players unanimously despise. I was having fun. Blanganga is fast, Blanganga is smart, he has tons of tricks up his sleeve, but unlike a lot of monsters, there's very little unfairness to him. Every time I fainted, I recognized, yeah, that was on me. I should have anticipated that. There's no awful hitboxes or obnoxious technique with him. It's a head-on man versus monster showdown. I was shocked that I enjoyed this guy so much, since Blanganga isn't exactly the most liked monster. Where that disdain comes from, I don't really know. If I had to guess, people saw the weird wet and sticky look Nintendo graphics gave him and it made them puke. Blanganga's cool, and I'm tired of pretending that he's not. With that, we meet the introspective monkey gazing wistfully out to the world, probably thinking about planting his own Blango apple orchard. But that honor belongs to Old Timer, and the Snow King's reign comes to an early, icy end. Old Timer stood there atop the snowy peak, thinking to himself, I won. I'm unstoppable, the king of the mountain. Nothing can get me down anymore. Just as he finished speaking, a stray gust of wind swept him off his feet, leaving him as nothing more than a sad little mound of snow at the bottom of the mountain. It's Kushala time. Twisting up the already confusing debate on whether Kushala Daora creates the storm or merely follows it, the snowy mountains are in a hurricane-adjacent state, something that never happens in the Dragon of Steel's absence. While it would be cool to say Kushala's final stand is where he brings out his A-game, unleashing his true power and has new attacks and abilities, it isn't. This is the easiest encounter with this monster because he's been picked apart so many times. Instead of a dragon burning out in a blaze of glory, it's more of an old man getting pushed over and having his ribcage get stomped. So remember kids, this spear can and will get pushed so far into Kushala's feet, it will jut out of his cinnamon-tipped nose. Dos's flagship has finally been put away, and we can finally retire Old Timer. The town, once a worthless collection of houses and miserably dark history, is now a bustling place of economy and culture. And the person we can thank for that is Old Timer. Him and his giant wrinkled forehead. God, I hate old people. The slave contract isn't over yet, though. The greedy Jumbo Village chief needs more resources, the best of the best, and there's no place in the world better for that than the volcano. The most dangerous out of all locales. Yet, everything here wants to kill you, even the ground. But the volcano isn't just a place full of death and destruction. It's also a place full of treasures, fatty tomatoes, and interesting little fellas. Like that thing right there. That's a Hermitor, but blue. Take this collection of rocks, for example. What you might see as a delicious earthy treat, I see as my darling baby boy that I'm only allowed to see on weekends, per court ruling. Bazarios is a 1-star quest in the volcano, which is Funny. Maybe I'll stand for the Weapon Deflect national anthem. Bazarios is nothing but a little guy that thinks he's a bunch of rocks. An incredibly heavy little guy he is, with wings completely useless in flight due to his gargantuan weight. Hey Bazarios, wait, stop that, how are you doing that? He uses that weight to his advantage with slow but hard-hitting charges. His main diet consists of rocks, rocks, and more rocks. An interesting diet that generates strange waste products, all of which are able to be weaponized against you. In case you haven't noticed, he baby. So a lot of him is still quite underdeveloped. While the adult Gravios' shell has no issue warding off the unbearable heat of molten lava, the young Bazarios must limit its exposure, or else it will experience permanent life-altering burns. And try as he may, Bazarios still hasn't developed the ability to do his lineage's signature heat beam, instead having to resort to his own Baza Blast! Never use a melee weapon against Bazarios, trust me, you're not based enough. That's all I can say about Bazarios. He's so precious. I could just rip his chest open and then have the subsequent infection and disease do the killing for me. Back in the village, the lady dragon downs 8 liters of alcohol and assaults the elderly. Then in her drunken stupor begins talking about rumors. Whispers of an ancient ruin somewhere not too far from the jungle. Certainly a place like that would be known about. A colossal tower that's existed for eons. Something about it is rather chilling though. Perhaps there's a reason the information on its existence is so scant, spread across 3 tattered pages scattered around the jungle. Never mind that though, right now it's time for crab. Shogun Cianatar is the second in command amongst the ranks of military crustaceans, and just like Blenganga, this fight is so much fun. Cianatar isn't fast like Blenganga, his fight is much more technical, with wider and more powerful hitboxes. When angry, he'll unfurl his claws into sharp and deadly sickles, with the sole purpose of making his hitboxes 3 times larger. If you're struggling with the claws, you can destroy them, but in response to having his most dangerous weapon clipped, the Shogun will become permanently enraged, being a total bastard until the end of the hunt. Just like the Daimyo, Shogun is a shelled hermit crab, but unlike Hermitor, Cianatar can be disrobed. Violate the blue crab to reveal his big Schmeedy pisser, the same one he uses to pressure piss on you from the ceiling, raining down heavenly crab showers on thirsty congas below. When Shogun Cianatar's shell is broken, he will become deeply embarrassed and run to find a new one, slightly altering the blue crab's behavior. With his favorite Gravio skull, may the crab juice rain down from the heavens. With this unknown skull that, if I had to guess, is either a Lavasioth or a Valstrax, he has a bit of a dribbling problem. And who could forget the plain old snail shell? If you continually ruin his wardrobe, he'll eventually run out of shells and be forced to wear his crab meat with confidence, and sword fight with it out like a real man. Through all the gimmicks though, Cianatar is surprisingly straightforward. There's no dose-specific shenanigans that the Shogun can pull. He's still just a crab. And what else can you really ask for? Besides some of the best armor in the game, both looks-wise and skill-wise. Back at Jumbo, Big Sister Lady Dragon challenges Old Timer to yet another drink-off, unaware of the fact that his liver was perforated by Cianatar Claw and had to be bionically replaced. With his new cybernetic enhancement, Old Timer drank like alcohol was oxygen. And yet, despite the unfair advantage, the drink-off was still embarrassingly close. In the end, the true alcoholic won. It's a miracle your big sister is still such a beauty after all that. As a reward, she gives us a handy bit of information that means absolutely nothing, and follows that up by sending the elderly headfirst into grave danger. Gravios is here to personally end the fun monster streak by just being himself. This dude has the build of a fallout shelter, hits like a neutron bomb, takes long walks inside active volcanoes, and is the hideous end result of an adolescence marred by volcanic monster aggression and eating rocks. Gravios is one of the lamest monsters in history, and to counter him, I opted to outlame him. In order to do that, I switched to the easiest weapon in the game, and down to 5-hour energy to boost my chances of staying awake during gameplay. Then, I sat on this ledge. Unfortunately, the devs saw through the facade and not only made this ledge a daytime-only strat, but also put an infinitely respawning Vespoid and lava geysers on top of it. So it's not that brain dead, it's just mostly brain dead. It also, of course, only works when Gravios doesn't realize he's being lamed out. If he does, he will grumpily stomp away to another zone. Despite his imposing stature, this might be the simplest fight yet. Shoot, walk left to right, and repeat. That might sound like an exaggeration, but I promise it is not. Because of his Nokia 6110 build, this process will take about 40 minutes, and because this is DOS, I usually end up losing anyways. Gravios moves are completely worthless because of how slow and lumbering the monster is, but he does have a broken trick up his sleeve. Normally, when Gravios roars, you have enough time to sit back, kick your feet up, take a flight to Malaysia, binge all of the original Ben 10, fly back from Malaysia, and return back to your chair 5 hours before your hunter is done covering their ears. The hunt resumes and everything is okay. But if enraged, Gravios will roar for 2 frames, and since they decided not to bother adjusting the roar stun timer for the faster roar, Gravios gets roughly 11 years to decide on what he wants his free follow-up to be. Most of the time, it'll be that signature Gravios heat beam. There's nothing that particularly sets Gravios apart, aside from being able to shrug off intense volcanic heat with ease. There's not a lot of monsters that can fully withstand lava. Sure, there are some that can be seen coming into contact with it, but they can only handle limited amounts before the heat gets to be too much for them. If a Bazarios is ever fully submerged in lava and survives, it will later grow up to be a Black Gravios. Black Gravios are found in the volcano too, but are sometimes found in the swamp, implying that the burns traumatized the little Bazarios so much that it fled their home turf looking for a colder climate. Yay trauma. This monster is funny, and it makes me want to die. Also very quirky how he sometimes takes a stroll through the volcano's crater. Back at the village, Jumbo Chief talks about how he bagged one HelloFresh sponsorship and will be using that money to upgrade the tavern. To seal the deal, the village chief has to hand over 1 Diablos horn. And this is where I cry. To nobody's surprise, Diablos was the next wall. A hyper-aggressive, herbivorous ball of muscle and hatred. Laser focused on painting his enormous horns red with your entrails. He is fast, hits so hard, and is so densely packed with muscle. His wings that were once used for flight in his evolutionary timeline are now used to travel through the ground at horrifying speeds. That combined with unmatched hearing, any creature that sets foot in its wide territory has approximately 11 seconds before a sharp object enters their rectum. My first strat was to use the frog shotgun and that tasty pellet ammo to rip up its wings and tail, but then I lost. So I decided to try again with an even lamer weapon, but Diablos was having none of it. After several increasingly embarrassing attempts and exponentially more brain damage, I had a dream. What? Who are you?
I am your ancestor.
I knew it.
My child, you must heed my advice.
What do you mean?
Follow in your father's footsteps.
Papa?
Humans are weak and useless. You must return the crab.
I know that, and I've been trying.
You must.
Crab father?
What?
Where's my crab mother?
Crab cakes.
Thank you. I'll never forget you.
Embrace crabwood, my child. Embrace crabwood.
After dressing the old man in delectable crab, the rematch was easily one of the lamest fights in history. Hail the Rock of Safety. May you get in the way of many more Diablos charges. As the fight progresses, Diablos will get increasingly quicker to anger, to the point where it will only take one attack to trigger him. But despite the overwhelming cactus-loving odds stacked against him, Old Timer emerged on the other side, standing over the ruins of Diablos amidst a herd of really grumpy Apsaros. Now imagine that, but female. Black Diablos is an even more aggressive female Diablos in heat. This is also the only monster that I was unable to beat, full stop. I literally have nightmares about this bitch, so we're moving on. Having secured the bag, the village tavern has been dripped out to its fullest potential, and Jumbo Village is now a boom town, full of villagers talking about expunging Gunlance mains from the gene pool. The Wyverian Madam gives Old Timer his most important objective, to discover the whereabouts of the ancient tower. A process that is done by assembling a book, its pages scattered around the jungle. The first page is a simple find. Give the Spelunker man in the cursed Jumbo Cave a high-quality pickaxe and he will return with the page. The second page is stupid. There's no mystery or discovery involved. Simply remortgage your house and take out all your student loans to pay for one page of a textbook that the college that you're already giving tens of thousands of dollars to doesn't readily supply. Spoken like a professional dropout here. The third and final page is extremely tricky to figure out. Out there wandering the world of Monster Hunter is an individual who goes by the name Veggie Elder. with whom you can converse, and from whom you can receive worthless gifts. Sometimes you might have something that he wants, and if that item happens to be a steel dragon scale, then in return he will give you the third and final page of the book. But before the map can be followed, a new monster appears, the Lunastra. Information on Teostra's Damimami is scarce, but all records well document its extreme violence and destructive capability. With the Book of the Ancient Tower completed, the Lady Dragon has but one goal left: to use the Lunastra as a giant blue beacon to it. Getting into Lunastra, I love this monster and honestly have no idea where to begin with her. She's essentially a fire-breathing big cat that dines on coal, converting it into an explosive liquid in her tongue. After that, turning the liquid into a powder, and using her wings can waft that explosive powder over very long distances, using her teeth to create a spark that will create a chain of explosions. In other words, literally Teostra, but less cool. In future games, they would alter her to be less explosion-oriented and more fire-oriented. They also made her a total bitch in World.
Are they sexing right now?
Yeah, they sexed it up.
And one of my favorite fights in that game. A sentiment that is shared by absolutely fucking nobody. Allow me to translate into Lunastra hate language. Goo goo fucking gaga, mommy I want milky. I'm sorry to come out as a Lunastra apologist in this way, but this monster rules and bangs harder than the people that dislike her ever will. With that being said, meet Zippo and Bick, my fire dragon plushies named after lighter brands. Oh yeah, Lunastra sucks and should have never been invented. I remember one specific moment in my DOS playthrough where we transitioned from cutscene to gameplay, and it dawned on me that I was fighting Lunastra. I almost screamed out loud in that moment. Imagine my subsequent surprise when she ran away after only 5 minutes. Don't get me wrong, this is still a tough hunt and it's not like I didn't fail at all, but after the Diablo's hell, Lunastra was surprisingly not bad at all. Like Kashala's wind aura, Lunastra has a flame aura, exuding such an intense heat that it melts the flesh off attackers, including that of this senior citizen. Also similar to Kashala's wind aura, Lunastra's heat can be disabled with a little asbestos in the lungs. After 2 successful repulsions, the Lunastra will then become weak, guiding us directly to its nesting area in the ancient tower. It's time for the showdown atop the tower, against a monster that submission holds entire armies. A task thought to be humanly impossible, especially impossible for soggy old men like this one. But like the Jumbo Village chief says, Oldtimer's only ever done the impossible. We're at the end of his story now, and whatever happens is up for him to discover. The ancient tower is a grisly reminder of humanity's past. It's a forgotten land. The mere mention of it carries a sobering weight. It oozes with eeriness, perfectly exemplified by the subtle flute that sounds when you first lay eyes on it. A place of unbelievable knowledge and machinery, inhabited by greedy people, destroyed in one fell swoop by a vengeful dragon that still lives to this day. A creature that went on in an attempt to destroy the rest of humanity, leaving them as an endangered species barely out of the Stone Age. The tower now reclaimed by nature is a permanent reminder that nature always wins. Humans may try to beat it or play above it, but extinction comes for us all, no matter how unlikely it may seem. It's great that the environmental storytelling of this place is top-notch, because climbing to the top fucking blows. Remobras are portents of disaster. Their presence in swarms is a clear indication of an Elder Dragon's presence. And these things cover the tower, along with the brand new monsters. In the sunken area, we can see great thunderbugs buzzing around, and in the upper floors, Shakalaka. Shakalakas are little bastards that do tons of damage, bum rush in groups, and are easily the most dangerous small monster in the game. They also wear funny little masks. The atmosphere of the tower is perfect, and I especially love these large cylindrical sections with stairs so huge you have to jump and haul yourself over, like someone 5'7" or below. I can just imagine the time when
Genetically altered giant soldiers were marching around.
illustrated in front of a beautiful backdrop of lights filtering through clouds wakes the Lunastra, who is still just as much of a little bitch. Just like Kashala, no, Lunastra didn't have anything to pull out for her final showdown. It's just Lunastra, but again. At first I saw the shadow and freaked out, expecting her beloved house cat husband to make an appearance, but it was only a random Remobra here to watch the show. The longest part of this hunt was unironically climbing to the top of the tower, and even though it would have been pretty funny to have you get booted way back down to base camp, if you faint, you only just retreat outside. After a tender, loving touch to the nose, Lunastra is at long last felled. an old-timer can finally retire into a life of luxury. Jumbo Village has reached its fullest potential, and the village chief is off colonizing more unclaimed lands. Yeah, colonization is a weird end cutscene choice, but I'm just glad he's living his best life. Monster Hunter DOS is a unique experience, and my run through the low-rank village perfectly illustrated that to me. It hurts, it's unforgiving, and it was really, really fun. This might be the Stockholm Syndrome talking, but I really can't put to words just how great of an experience DOS is in general, like overall. So instead of doing that here, I think I will save it for the next part where I play through Dendorma and take on High Rank and the other half of the monster cast. Yes, that includes Rathalos, who is strangely completely absent from the game so far. Longtime fans of the channel might know that I usually talk about horror games and review or make video essays about horror media. And I do like me some good horror from time to time, but I also love Monster Hunter and want to get more into my favorite series with this channel. So consider this video me getting my first foot in the door. Whether my first foray into this new content style was entertaining or not, I will let you guys be the judges via a like or dislike. Thanks for watching to the end. Go look at my second channel for semi-consistent streams and uploads. Actually, if you go there right now, I'm probably streaming something stupid. The English translation is up. Go play DOS. Have your therapist on speed dial, and please excuse me while I go and cry.
His little face is so freaking stupid. He doesn't even fully bury himself under the ground. You being able to expose his chest when you break his chest, it's just why do you bully the baby? I don't know, maybe give him a little 10-piece chicken nugget meal with some rocks in there for flavor, I don't know.